Some of my closest friends are all from gaming, and those friendships are built over just playing together, hanging out at LANs in between series, after series, playing, scrimming.
The opportunities that you have when you're not playing to be able to, still talk about gaming or just share that experience and going out, with your fellow gamers. Again, people think that it's not a social thing, but gaming is very, very social, and LANs are a huge part of that.
When you're with a team for a long period of time, it's kind of hard to find that motivation. And being right next to each other is all the motivation you need.
It was a lot more popular to get together back in the day and kind of LAN as a group, really learn together as a team. We kind of strayed away from that. Everyone really enjoyed our time together, and now it just feels like it's a lot more serious. People aren't having as much fun as a group and just enjoying exactly like what we're able to do together, because not everyone is able to do this kind of stuff.
Las Vegas, a city known for gambling, bright lights, great food, and entertainment you can't find anywhere else. It's also known for its rich history in competitive Halo.
Straight ripping, so clutch, their backs up against the wall, just a minute left in regulation.
Since 2005, the world's best players have been traveling here to compete, practice, and enjoy themselves. Later this month, we have the HCS Pro League Season Finals at DreamHack in Atlanta, Georgia. In preparation, two of the world's best teams are here at the Millennial Esports Arena to boot camp. They'll grind out some Halo and then kick it back to relax in the evenings. Team Envious is led by my friend, Eric, better known to the Halo community as Snipedown. He is a multiple-time champion of the game whose career has just crossed the 10-year mark.
My first ever real LAN I got invited to was when I joined Instinct, and it was against Timeliest Brute, Soviet, Dirt McGirt. That's when it really became official, and I really joined my first big team. It was a lot more popular to get together back in the day and kind of LAN as a group, really learn together as a team, and we kind of strayed away from that as the years went on. I think some of the most fun times I had were the summer LANs at the TLN, when it was just a bunch of pros getting together, and not even like as teams, just getting together and playing like random money 8s and having tournaments against each other. It was so cool. That was honestly by far the best LANs I've been to. Absolutely.
I think I lived at their house.
You did.
2 different summers. The whole summers.
I don't blame you. That place was awesome.
That was amazing. What do you think the value of being able to boot camp with your team in preparation for a tournament really is?
I think a lot of it is mental and what teams are trying to, improve on. Our team hasn't really been able to practice as much leading up to this, so we're really just trying to get back into our groove and find ourselves. And sometimes a break is what you need to really all kind of refresh and get back on the same page and start new. And, landing against a team like Oxygen Supremacy, right on the cusp of making Pro League, and, they're solid. They can definitely challenge some of these teams. I think it's really on them to see what they can come in here and learn from us in a sense, and I'm sure we can learn some things from them as well.
I've always kind of thought that having closer relationships, or being, able to spend a lot of time with your teammates outside of the game directly impacts everything in game as well.
Absolutely. Every team I've been successful on has been teammates that I'm really close with, and teammates that I haven't enjoyed playing with. I've seen, good teams like when I was on BTH. We were a solid team, we had a bunch of skill, but we just really did not click at all as people and teammates, and you could see it in game. It's just kind of, when you are teaming with people you like, you almost want to go out of your way to make your team better and improve, make everyone just feel like they're doing really well. So
it's natural. There's not an easy way to describe it. It just, teamwork comes naturally, winning comes naturally. When you get along, at least, there's obviously obstacles to overcome, but being able to spend time together in a LAN like this is, what you want ideally, and it's something that we've obviously missed, I think, for a long time.
Honestly, it's funny. You can kind of compare Halo teams to relationships in a sense, where if you're having issues as a team and you just let it just boil up and don't say anything, it's just people are just going to start blaming each other behind each other's backs, and it's just going to turn into this spiral effect of people not trusting each other. But when you're together, if you see issues, it's almost you have to be direct about it, call it out, and if it's hard to hear sometimes, because we've done it, it's been hard to hear sometimes on how we're struggling. But after those conversations, it's like, okay, you get that like reality check, like, okay, maybe I do need to work on this. There's the fight at first, but then it comes down to, it's like, okay, if I want to make this work, then I'm going to put forth more effort.
Get picked off. Ryan finding the double kill, destroyed with the flag. That's going to be 3 dead. That's the last guy alive. 4 dead with the flag in the base. There goes the return. Ryan hopping on top. 2 players on top of it. Contra going to help with that one. Finally, Oxygen Supremacy able to take a game. Game number 3, CTF Truth. Very solid game coming in from Nemesis and destroyed 5, 15, and 14 for Contra.
Not his best.
Getting up and taking a little bit of a break now, but
It's hard to say there. Imagine if that was like the debut before every single match, like dude,
that would be sick as fuck. Wouldn't that be sick as fuck, dude?
What? Shit. Where'd you get that? I don't know. Did you find that on the ground? Are you real? What? Have you been wearing that this whole time? Oh yeah. Bring it.
Wait, why do you have that?
One series score overall. We did have a tie too on CTF Fathom. Now an opportunity to push into the base here. That was 4 dead temporarily. Micklin's going to be the guy to sit there and lock
That is such a big kill.
There's the overkill. Looking for a little bit
Going
more. That's a kill-tacular
Look at this
on
guy.
stream, ladies and gentlemen.
So average. I mean, I just killed like 3 one-shot kids. I was just sat in the cave. The only reason why I got the kill tag is because he pushed back at the right corner for some reason.
They were good. We learned some things.
What'd you learn?
Some weaknesses. Yeah.
He has weaknesses?
Oh yeah. Every team has a weakness. Just gotta find it. I break down the weaknesses and eliminate them.
It's 49-48, SK with the double. And T-Squared pushing in. T-Squared gets the double to win the game.
Halo has many marquee players, but there is only one T-Squared. Tom Taylor began his competitive Halo career in 2002 and has been active in the scene ever since. He's been a player, commentator, and most recently, a team owner. This weekend, he was my partner in the commentary booth.
Halo, just the actual game. Well, first of all, my dad introduced me to it. I was playing it. He had some nightclubs in New York, and they had those old Xbox systems where you can only play 1 or 2 games. Halo was the game that I played, so I'd go with him, help him out in the club, things like that, and that was my first time that I actually got my hands on the game. Then I moved down to Florida that same year. It was difficult for me because that was my first year of high school, so going in as a freshman, in a new state, not having any friends, I found Halo was my way to connect with some of the people there and down in South Florida, and we joined a science club where the science club was to get extra credit through playing Halo. And you can't forget that. There's no way I could forget that. That's kind of how I started into Halo Esports as well. Just running my own tournaments at school, and then hearing about Darkman and these big, Halo 1 events that were taking place. I guess back then they weren't that large, but they were on, television, and you would win like a big screen TV. And this is when big screen TVs were like winning like a $50,000 car. So
Same thing. What was Halo Esports kind of like back in the day? Like back then, leading into like MLG, like at least somewhat in comparison to what esports kind of is now.
I remember driving to my first MLG event in Dallas. I drove 20 hours there.
Oh yeah.
Carpooled in a minivan, slept in the middle aisle of the minivan just so I can go to an event. There was no excuse of not having any money or anything like that. It was all about just getting to the event.
As a player, you had one of the strongest brands that we've seen on the pro circuit with MLG. How much work would you say went into that?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize there was a lot of work that I put in outside the game, and managing, playing with, owning a team while having tons of interview obligations, flying out to California constantly to do G4, sponsorship obligations, also doing tons of behind the scenes things that people don't even know about. It definitely took away from my practice a little bit, and when I actually had some reflection time of when Halo wasn't around and there wasn't as many competitive tournaments, I actually was astonished at everything. I was just like, wow, that was a lot of work. I can't believe that I was able to manage all of that, and here I am today, and it's made me so much more diverse in what I can do. At the same time, I do kind of look at it as a double-edged sword because it was a little before our time, right? If I was creating YouTube videos at the time, even to this day, it's something that I'm inspired to do, and that's why I've taken what I'm doing and making it bigger than myself and doing straight ripping on a scale that I've always wanted to do. And I'm so fortunate to have a supporting staff behind me to help me do that. And that's why I'm really happy to make straight ripping an organization, so I can, help this next generation of players, create the best opportunities possible for them.
It takes persistence to reach the top of the podium, and Oxygen Supremacy is not short on it. This season, every player on the squad has received offers to join larger organizations. They have chosen to stay under their own brand in order to keep playing together. The team is led by Ryan Noob, a player who is known as much for his skill as he is for his outspoken opinions.
I mean, I've been playing Halo forever, just like everyone else. I played with my cousins back in 2009-ish. I went to my first tournament. It was with family. And so, yeah. Wow. I played with my two cousins, and they were much better than I was. And that was 2009. I went pro in 2010.
I remember.
So I just kept playing. I played every day, played in as many tournaments as I could.
You're known as someone that's pretty, outspoken. Or at least you're not shy to share your opinion about a lot of different things. Is there any thought behind it, or is it just who you are? And
I mean, I try and mostly do that, when I feel it's appropriate. I always have something I want to say, but you got to pick and choose the battles, pick and choose what you want to say. There's two aspects, right? There's the overall circuit aspect, what do I want to say, what do I want to talk about? Yeah. I always try and get my input whenever it's needed. But then there's also the team chemistry. What does it take to be a captain of a team, and how much input can you actually put in? And so it's in both scenarios, you have to pick and choose your battles. So, I always have something to say, and everyone on every team has something to say. But it's all about how much you're respected on the team and how much you think you can put in because of that.
No, it's kind of a broad question, but what would you say your goals are for your career? Are there any is there a set goal or benchmark that you really want to reach, or what do you hope to achieve? I would say.
Personally, it's always about having fun. It's mostly about what I can accomplish by myself and with the squad that I'm with. I could have taken the easy road. I could have gotten into the pro league at this cut. I got an offer, but I ended up not choosing it to stick with this team. And it wasn't because the other team wasn't good. They were solid. I wanted a team with them, but I ended up sticking with my team because we've been working on something for so long. Yeah. And I can't give up on something like that, especially when we're still happy. We're still fun to compete with. Right. So, I've had that happen to me a couple of times. People just get stolen off my rosters. It's the worst.
It's got to be really frustrating. You've been to a lot of LANs. You've been around a long time. You went to the LAN network. I remember the LANs. We've been there a few times. What do you think, the importance of being able to hang out, outside of the game, just with your team, with the people you're even playing against? You build such close relationships and friendships with people that are in the league, your teammates, people you play with. What does that really mean for you guys?
Yeah, this is a dream, honestly. I've always wanted to do something like this. At the LAN network, we used to play video games. Other than Halo, we'd play there's this little ice hockey game that we play.
Oh, the bubble hockey is so fun.
And there's so many other small games that you'd be able to play and you'd be able to compete with each other in. And now we have Millennial out here hosting us at an indoor skydiving and Topgolf. This is a dream. This is exactly what I want to do. And then we also sprinkle in some Halo.
Well, on the side.
A little bit.
When you can, make sure to practice.
It's just this is exactly what I wanted Halo to become, and where the direction I want Halo to go into. It's not just Halo anymore. It's everything. And so I'm glad that Millennial is able to host something like this.
Yeah. What did you have for dinner?
It was a lobster biscuit, I think. I'm not sure. Biscuit. I feel like I have to make the hand
gesture. I'm going to say
when
bisque because that sounds right, but it's very good.
It tasted like something I shouldn't know how to pronounce.
Yeah, it did.
I'm going to just throw something out there.
The whole point of going to a boot camp or a LAN or something like this is to really try to make measurable improvements. The series score isn't really what matters. It's about noticing that you can go over things together improve from game to game and series to series and day to day. Do you think you guys were able to make many improvements going into that second series, and do you think you're going to be able to make improvements going into tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure. After each game, we tried to talk about what each of us seen, like immediately after the game. We tried not to wait until after the whole series, but yeah, we definitely have a better understanding of where we are, like, and how we play the best.
Yeah,
we're starting to get to that point.
Obviously, you've been accustomed to playing in the Pro League. What would it mean for you to get back into Pro League?
It would mean a lot. I feel like right now we, personally, we're not an amateur team. I feel like there's a disconnect between the highest AM team and like the 7th and 8th pro teams. I feel like we could trade scrims with anyone, really. It wouldn't be. I feel like we just got unlucky when it came to, well, not more so unlucky, but I would say unprepared. It was on such short notice for the LCQ, for the Pro League, but I feel like we're now ready, and it would mean a lot to us because we've gotten offers from pro teams, all of us, and we've all declined them because we know what we want to work towards, and we want to make this happen. We don't want to be like any other team that just breaks up and just ruins something that could potentially be really good.
And you incline down, and it picks you back up and pulls you back.
I'm not okay with that though.
I'm trying to get a whole group.
Sure, you doing it? Tyler. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's just do it. Come on, let's do it.
My hands are still numb. I don't know, it was the worst idea I've ever had. It was fun though. It was a roller coaster up the side of a
It was crazy lit, bro. The worst part is when you go down, bro. He'll tell you. You'll tell him that.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
We got it. Dude, how was it, man?
Oh my god, I was gripping on for dear life. It was nice though. It was a great adrenaline rush.
I was telling him, like, the worst part is when you just go down, you know?
Oh man, I loved it.
Right in the front.
It was actually another reason why you might not be able to see me on the pictures is because it was moving like really fast, and I might have been like blurred. So yeah, it's super fun, man. Would do it again for sure.
This land featured a special visitor, Joe Gomes of the Oakland Raiders. Joe is the head strength and conditioning coach for the team. He was on site to learn about esports and to see how he could help these players achieve their goals.
One of the things we want to talk about is this concept of preparedness and readiness. So we take at the tournament that's coming up at the end of the month, all right? What do you think you need in order to be prepared? Throw out any ideas.
Practice.
Practice. Okay, there we go, practice. Now, there's two lines when we look at preparedness versus readiness, okay? And I want you to imagine here, the top line is preparedness, okay? And through skill and development, you're going to be prepared, all right? But on any given day, how ready are you?
So what did you think, getting a chance to check out esports and seeing some of those players, you think there's a lot of similarities and differences between the two?
One of the things I love most is competition. I love it. It really gets me excited to see passionate people focus on the competition element and trying to improve themselves, trying to reach their full potential. And I think, what you've got here is a great young group of guys, ask some awesome questions, engaged in the process, engaged of what they're trying to achieve.
Was there anything that kind of caught you off guard, maybe, or surprised you about checking out esports in general, or the players while they were playing, or any of the questions they asked?
What was good to see during practice was that they weren't emotional about things that were going on. And I think it's important, when you can keep a stable level of stable mentality, and whether they won or they lost or whether they made a bad decision or not, you know, at that moment, at that time, in that training environment, those guys would remain pretty even keel. And I think that's important from a continuity standpoint and from a communication standpoint. You know, it's probably a product of those guys, you know, playing for a while with each other, a product of great coaching. And, you know, it's an important thing to be. Now, that being said, you know, amp up the stress. Are you going to see that? You know, that's where some of the challenges come from. A coaching scenario is that how can you put some additional stresses into the training environment to see how well the guys are going to perform.
Right.
And I think you know that's where the coaches, you know, has to be creative and, you know, bring energy, and also the guys need to make sure they practice with you know, good purposeful intent.
Is there any specific area you think that some of them could maybe work on the most?
I think, I mean, you know, just the nature of the beast, you know, sleep is probably the biggest one.
It's definitely a gamer problem,
yeah,
I'll admit.
Yeah,
you know,
and
play late.
Yeah, and it's no different from different environments that we've been in. You know, like often when, you know, within the Department of Defense, guys are deployed, they're on a reverse cycle, and they're working at night, and that's when they have to be at their most alert. And, you know, then they may have meetings, briefings, and everything throughout the day during the daylight. And so you know, everything comes at a cost. And so, you know, when you know, as consistent as they can be with their schedule and their planning will help. They also have to understand that if they, you know, they go through a period, a day or two of some sleep debt, they got to do everything they can to pay it back in a short window. Otherwise, you know, and that combined with other things, be it dehydration and poor nutrition choices, will start to compound and you know, bigger problems. And then that's when you're going to start to see mood changes. You're going to start to see, you know, simple things probably have a little bit more of an emotional response than it should be. And then the quality of training is going to suffer. And then ultimately, if you're in that state in competition, it's going to be really stressful for you to bring your best.
Yeah, that was quite a bit of a reset right there, but now we see Destroyed doing everything he can for his team. They know there's one guy in Red Nest, and he elects to fly to him. Oh my goodness, but that's it. That's it, 4-0. Straight rip and gets knocked.
We've got a new team. We've got a new team joining the Pro League. We definitely do. It's Oxygen Supremacy, and you can't say they didn't deserve it. 4-0ing the Pro team for their spot.
The intangible benefits of spending time with your team turn into very tangible results on the scoreboard. Grinding out games with the team allows for consistent and focused practice in a tournament environment, something that you just can't get online. As I prepare to leave Vegas, it's clear that there's a reason why pro players love and need boot camps.
He's gonna come this way and that way.
It's just not even gonna flick it.
Just throw it.
I feel like
I'll catch it if he goes too far.
I don't know. Are we good to go here?
Wait, were you good? You good?
Yeah.
All right.
No way you're going to throw that again.
Tried it again?
I will not be a part of this. Are you kidding me with this? No way.
All right, let's go. Gotta have some more arc to it.
The velocity. No, that is what's most of all time. What am I supposed to just like, woo, arc shot?